بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. So we're in a new chapter this week, the 32nd chapter of the book, which is talking about Israf. Israf is extravagance or wastefulness and this type of thing. So he says, the 32nd sin, which has been mentioned in the Quran and traditions, is israf, or to be wasteful. It's counted amongst the greater sins from Imam Rida alayhi salam and also from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, what we have in Riwayat. He said the Quranic verses and traditions both confirm that being wasteful is a greater sin. So we'll bring some proofs for that. First, he brings Quran, Surah 7, A'raf, ayat 31. Allah says, and eat and drink and don't be extravagant. Surely Allah does not love those who are extravagant. So uh, this ayat shows and proves that Allah does not love the extravagant people. And extravagance comes in many forms. One could be, a person ordering ordering way too much food, for example. And then they eat a few bites and then they throw the rest of it away. This is extravagant. We see this in some cultures. They have a whole table full of food. They take just a few bites and then they just get up and walk away, and the whole table of food is left there. When they know that they only are a little bit hungry and then can take just a little bit of food. Whereas we have people in the world that are starving, that cannot get food and have shortage of food, shortage of water, but we waste these things as if we don't care about them. I remember in Najaf, when you're making wudu, if you let the water running, like a lot of people do in the States, because we don't really think about wasting water, but they're in a desert and they tell you quickly, turn the water off, don't do israf. So they think even about these things. It says, according to some people who do tafsir of the Quran, one who is not loved by Allah is doomed to perdition or eternal damnation, because the love of Allah implies divine rewards. And we see that in the ayah, it says, Allah does not love these people who are wasteful. And according to Majma al-Bayan, the personal physician of Harun al-Rashid, he was a Christian man. And one day he asked, he says, does your holy book contain any medical knowledge? He said the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has condensed the complete medical knowledge in a single verse. And eat and drink and do not be extravagant. So he said, did your prophet mention anything about this branch of knowledge? They said, yes. He's described the medical science in a brief sentence. The stomach is the house of pain, and abstinence is the most important medicine. Everyone should be given the amount that he needs. So upon hearing this Christian remarked, your book and your prophet have not left anything from the medical science, and the Greek physicians, they don't have anything more to say than that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An'am, ayat 141, eat of its fruit when it bears fruit, and pay the due of it on the day of its reaping, and do not act extravagantly. Surely Allah does not love those who are extravagant. Another ayat from Quran, Surah Ghafir, ayat 34. Thus does Allah cause him to err who is extravagant, who is a doubter. Also, ayat 43. And the extravagant are the inmates of the hellfire. Also, we have Surah Taha, ayat 127. And those do we recompense him, and thus do we recompense him who is extravagant and does not believe in the communication of his Lord. And certainly the chastisement of the hellfire is severe and more lasting. One more verse is Surah Isra, ayat 26 to 27. And do not squander wastefully. Surely those who squander are the followers of the shayateen, and the shaitan is ever ungrateful to his Lord. So we see these are many verses in the Quran talking about extravagance. Also, we have in Tafsir Minhaj, it says that the extravagance and of the pre-Islamic Arabs When the rich among them invited someone for dinner, they slaughtered several camels just to show off their wealth. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has denounced their extravagance and said that they squander their wealth like people who are insane. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like those who waste and they show off because they want to impress their guests, for example. So they slaughter many camels when there is only a few people there to feed. We have narration from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, certainly moderation is liked by Allah, and He dislikes extravagance, even in the throwing away of a date seed, something we don't even pay any attention to, because that date seed can also be used. The Arabs used to feed these date seeds to the camels. And the same, he says, and the same is with the throwing away of water left after drinking, because even this water can be put to some use. Islam promotes a balanced life because moderation is the key. It's not to be extreme, either right or left in our life. We should take the middle course and be balanced and have moderation. Also, throwing things away, it should be our last resort. We should exhaust all other avenues that we have, like recycling, for example, or if it's clothing or household items, we can donate them to others who are less fortunate or don't have those things. Or if it's leftover food, we can give it to those who are in need or either feed the animals outside. Here in Turkey, they are gathering all of the food that is left over and they're giving it to the animals, dogs and cats, and they are feeding them as they're like communal animals. So in this way, you see that the dogs, they're not wild. They are wild dogs. They don't belong to anyone. But when I mean they're not wild, they're not attacking people and bothering people because people are nice to them and people are feeding them. So they're also nice to humans. Same thing with the cats. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam also said, fear Allah and be not extravagant nor miserly. Be moderate. It should be, we have a verse and reminds me of a verse in Surah Yasin. It says to not shackle your hand to your neck. I mean, don't be stingy and don't extend your hand too far because you will come to a loss. So the way is in between. It's a middle way. And Allah says, do not waste. Certainly, Allah has never punished the people who practice moderation. This is saying from Imam. It means that the punishment of Allah is reserved for both the one who wastes as well as the one who is stingy. It says that one of the companions went to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam and he placed some dates before us. We began to eat the dates, and some of us were throwing away the seeds. And he stopped those people from doing that and said, this is waste, and Allah doesn't like corruption. So even the Imam is paying attention to the small details of these things, like throwing away the seeds. We have a narration. It says that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam described the various prohibited acts and states that the house one builds extravagantly and for showing off will be raised to 7 floors by Allah on the day of judgment. Allah will kindle that building, make it on fire, make it a necklace around his neck, and place it on the neck of that person. Then he will toss him into the fire. The people requested Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to explain how a person can build a house for showing off. Maybe in that time they didn't have such a thing. So Rasulullah explained that it means a house which is more than is needed, one that is constructed to show off the superiority of the owner over his other Muslim brothers. For example, someone builds these big mansions like we see the sports players or musicians or actors. Maybe it's only this person and himself and let's just say 2 or 3 kids, so the maximum is 5, and then maybe they have a guest room or something, but they're building houses that are big as the White House, just to show off. They maybe have 2 or 3 swimming pools or this other thing. And it's not for necessity. And it's not even to just live comfortably. It's just to show off that they have more than other people. They say, oh, wow, his house is so huge. It's so big. And maybe some of these musicians, they have 50 cars. I remember some of these rappers. They would have 50 cars or 100 cars or something like this. And why do you need 50 cars or 100 cars? There's no need for that. This is israf. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, whenever Allah intends goodness from his servants, he reveals to him to live moderately and spend his life in the best way and keeps him away from extravagance. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, do you think that if Allah bestowed wealth on someone, it's because that he loves him? And if he has given less to someone, that is because he is low? No, it's not the case, Imam says. Whatever wealth is there, it all belongs to Allah. Allah gives to whomever he wishes as a trust, and he has permitted the trustee to eat and drink and wear clothes and marry and have transportation, but in moderation. And if he has excess, he must distribute it amongst the poor and fulfill their needs. Then whoever follows the divine commands, whatever he has eaten, whatever he has drank, whatever he has worn, whoever he has married, or whatever transportation he had in moderation, all this is halal for him. And if he doesn't act upon it, then those things are haram for him. Imam recited the ayat, and do not be extravagant. Allah does not love those who are wasteful. Then Imam continued, do you think it's proper that a person purchases from the wealth which Allah has given him a horse costing 10,000 dirham when he could have bought an animal worth 20 dirham? And it would have, sufficed for him. Or if he purchased a servant at a cost of 1,000 dirham when he could have gotten one for 20 dinars, and it's sufficient for him. When Allah says, do not spend wastefully. So we see that one should not you know spend wastefully and neglectfully and without any cause. If there's something that he can buy that is 10,000, but he buys something else, the same thing, for example, for 50,000. There's a horse for 10,000. There's a horse for 50,000. He buys the horse for 50,000, but it's the same horse. It's not any different. It's not a better quality or anything. He just says, I want to buy that one and show off that money doesn't matter to me and I can just buy whatever I want to. Person asked Imam Rida alayhi salam as to how much he should spend on his family. Imam replied to him, between the two which are disliked. He said, I don't know which are these two. So Imam says, certainly Allah hates extravagance, and he also hates being stingy. Then the Imam recited the ayat from Surah Furqan, ayat 67. And the people are those who are neither extravagant nor stingy. They are moderate people. So one extreme is too extravagant. And the person may say, why are you buying all of this? We don't need all of these things. Why are you buying so many plates, for example, or so many furniture, so much furniture, or so many cars? Or this is one extreme that they don't like. The other extreme is being stingy, saying we don't need this, so we're going to buy two plates, one plate and share it, or we're going to buy, one, for example, no furniture, we're just going to live without it. Some people prefer that, but I'm just saying the less amount, that someone would complain. For example, your wife would complain if you say, why we only have 2 cups? Why, it's less. But then if you have 50 cups, it's why we have all of these cups. It's way too many cups, takes up too much space. There needs to be in between the moderate course. What is normal? What is from earth, from the common usage? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said that if a person is extravagant and later becomes poor because of being extravagant, he wasted his money, threw all of his money away buying unnecessary things, his dua will not be accepted. Subhanallah. Then if he says, oh Allah, give me good health, Allah says, had I not ordered you to be moderate? For example, they were spending too much things and being extravagant and eating too much food or not eating enough food. For example, they need to take the moderate course. Extravagance means crossing the limits or spending wastefully, and it depends on circumstances. The author says, for example, spending on something useless is haram, even if it's only single dirham, like $1, for example. And spending unduly, even for a proper occasion, is extravagance. If a dress is 100, we can just say like $100, for example, and it is good enough, one should not purchase a dress for $500. If the $100 one is sufficient and it is nice and is good and quality is okay, there's no need to buy the $500 one. He says, according to certain ulama, spending at the wrong place is also wasting one's wealth, and spending more than necessary is extravagant. For example, the same clothing, the same shirt, it is the same thing. Two shirts, they're both exactly the same. One place is $20, other place is $30. One should choose the lesser priced one. They're the same thing. One should spend $20. It's logical. It goes with our akal. Everyone would agree. If it's two of the same thing, same quality, we should buy the lesser priced one. But some people, they buy higher quality items, and this is not extravagant, because the better quality the item, the longer it will last than if they buy a cheaper quality item. For example, we have in our hygiene products, we have deodorant, for example. They're both deodorant, but one of them costs $5 and one of them is costing $1. You are both deodorant. But the $1 one, it will not last you the whole day. It will wear off after 1 hour or 2 hours. Whereas the $5 one will last all day, which is better to buy this one because it's the better quality. Or there are two pairs of pants. One pair of pants, we can say, is $10. And the other pair of pants is $30. But the $30 pants is better quality and it will last longer. And whereas the $10 pants, they maybe only last for a few months and you wash them and the washer will put holes in them, or they will fade away and the quality of the material will get thin and will be gone. And then you'll have to buy another pair and another pair and another pair. Whereas if you invested in the $30 pair, it lasts you for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So this is not is seen as extravagance. What we mean is uh, also some people are buying some things that just because of the name brand or something like this, but it's not the quality per se, it's just the name. And just because of the designer's name, the thing is worth, they selling, for example, these purses. Some purse maybe is costing $50,000 when they can have another functional purse for, $100 or some other lower price, But they say just because of the name of the person, the two bags, they look the same or they're very close. But because of the name of the person, they're selling the bag for $40,000 or $50,000. This is wasteful. Imagine how much that money could have went if it would have went towards a school or a hospital or hausa or some orphans or uh, masajid or Hosseiniya or something like this. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, if you wear a formal dress where it's not required, it is also extravagance because this could be seen as showing off. For example, they are going to a place that is a normal place and everyone is wearing normal clothes, jeans and, maybe button shirt or something like this. But someone comes in that place with a tuxedo on, in order to show off that I have a lot of money or something like this. And it's out of place. It's not the proper place for that type of dress. And then they would be seen as showing off and it would be offensive to others, maybe, and it would be seen as extravagant. He says it's necessary to know that extravagance depends upon the honor and respect of different people. So it's urf, the common usage, common practice of people, their health and sickness, youth and old age, poverty and affluence, income levels, and other things. Uh, it's possible that an expensive dress may not constitute extravagance for a person who can afford the same and who holds a respectable position in society, whereas the one who is not having the same position and income wearing the same dress will constitute extravagance extravagance. So it depends on the person's position. For example, a president of a country, they are normally wearing suits or something like this, and it's not seen as extravagant to go to an ordinary event, for example, like a park or a cookout in a park. No one wears a suit to a cookout, but if a president is coming, it's not out of place for him to wear a suit to a barbecue. But a normal, average day-to-day person to wear a suit to a barbecue is seen as strange. Some things have their place because of urf, and some things are not haram, but they may look out of place if someone does it. For example, one of the marja. For example, we can say Sayyid Sistani, may Allah lengthen his life. Imagine, it's not haram to wear a jeans and a t-shirt, but if we see Sayyid Sistani, his high position, and we know that how, great position Marja is in the eyes of the world. If he were to come to Husseiniya or Husseiniya in the jeans and a t-shirt, it would be very strange. It's not haram. There's nothing wrong with it, but it would be out of place if he did not come without, if he came without Amama and Abba and Saya and all of these things and wore jeans and t-shirt, it would be out of place. So sometimes things, they need, the author is saying it depends on the place, depends on the person, depends on the circumstance. So it's all dealing with urf. What is the common practice of people in society? For example, in Najaf or Karbala, or I can speak for these two places. Qom is probably the same. It is looked at, the Arabs call it aib. Aib is something, it's not haram, but it doesn't look right. It doesn't look nice. It's bad. It doesn't look good. For an alim to come outside without amama, without the saya, without abba, it doesn't look nice. They would say this is aib, unless he's shopping in the market for buying some groceries or something like that. But normally to walk out in the streets and go to haram without amama, it would be aib. It would be something that's not looked at as nice. So we see that it depends on the position, because it's not haram to go outside without it, but it doesn't look right for the position of scholar. But as you see in America or in the West, ulama are wearing amama and these clothes only to Husseiniya or to Islamic function. Outside of that, they're wearing jeans or pants and a shirt because this is the earth of that society. So it depends on where you are. It says Sheikh al-Kulaini, author of Al-Kafi, recorded narration from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam that he said, there are some poor people who waste more than the rich. He says, because the rich waste from the wealth Allah has given them, whereas the poor waste from the wealth that they don't have. Such poor people are always involved in economic problems and debts, and they don't consider the circumstances and spend beyond their means. For example, they are given credit cards, and this is problem of society now. They have the money available, so they run the bill all the way up for unnecessary things. If it's for living expenses, other things, they need to borrow some money, this is different. But they are running the bill up, buying all sort of whatever they see, they like it, they are buying it. This is extravagance. It's a result in competing with those who have more money than them. It's trying to keep up with them. One indulges in all of these extravagance, and then their life gets into poverty, misery, sorrow, grief. We call it keeping up with the Joneses. So if people look at those who are less privileged than them, as Islam has told us to do, then they wouldn't fall victim to spending wastefully. And bankruptcy is often the cause of living extravagantly. If people obey the laws of Islam and they use their aql and they use moderation, and they will stay away from this sin of israf. They will be satisfied with whatever they have, and they will live within their means. We must live within our means so that we can be moderate and have extra money that we can do good things with, not always in debt, having to pay off things, and this causes stress and makes one's life miserable. And instead, we live moderate, we'll enjoy, good in dunya and akhirah. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam says, no one can taste the true belief until he cultivates three qualities. The first one is love of knowledge of ahkam, religious rules. The second is being patient in musiba or tragedies and calamities and these things. When we have an affliction, we should be patient. The third one is realistic estimation of his expenses, not to try to, the problem with us is the more money we get, the more bills we add on top of that. We say, I have more money so I can live more extravagantly. I can buy a bigger house. I don't need a bigger house, but I have more money. Why not? I buy a bigger house. I have a car that is working good. It is nice. For example, it is a Toyota or a Honda or a Hyundai or average good car that's working fine. But they say I got a raise in my job. I'm going to take out a new loan and I'm going to go buy myself a Porsche or a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or something like this because I have extra money. But the first car was good for them. They didn't need that other car. They could have used this extra money instead of getting in debt, living outside of their means, pushing their budget to the maximum that they have. And they could have space. They could have extra money. They could donate toward the Husseiniya. They can help orphans. They can help those in Gaza. They can help, Tulab in the Hausa. They can do many things with this extra money. But instead, we always push our budget all the way to the max with not even, leaving $10 left. We don't have savings and we're just putting to the max limit. So we have to learn to live in moderation and not to be extravagant. We have to budget wisely, make a realistic estimation of our expenses, as Imam Ali alayhi salam says, know what is our means, know what is our budget. Try to stay within and be able to live comfortable so we don't have stress of bills. Try to pay off our things instead of adding new things. We should try to pay off the existing things that we have. For example, the mortgage, we could add extra payments and pay this off faster. We have car payments, pay extra and get rid of these bills and debts and save ourselves from stress and these type of things. So this is some of talk about israf, and inshallah we'll stop here and we'll continue with this topic next week, inshallah. صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم
اللهم
صل على
صل
محمد
على
وعلى
محمد